Hi, I'm Michael Loftus from the Professional Display Business Unit at Tianma. I'd like to show you one of our displays which has high integration. It's our hybrid Opto-Electric. Basically, it has a fingerprint sensor that we could activate and it would record the fingerprints. It's a large area. And then also we have an ambient light sensor in the device. So when you put the light on, it adjusts the luminance. And also you can see that the color of the OLED, we can adjust the color of the OLED balance over time as things age.
So everything is in the OLED?
Yes.
All the stuff you just said?
It's highly integrated. And if you were to look at this, talk about all the integration that's in here.
So it's you call it HOI?
Yep,
Hybrid
Opto-Electronics Integration.
All right. So it's cool with the OLED. If you make it right, you can include a bunch of stuff.
Yes. So whatever you want, this is what we're doing. You'll see a lot more integration from Tianma. So we're being a very innovative company.
We can check all these.
Yep.
Also, maybe could we start with that one?
Yeah.
So here you have a Trifold.
Yeah. So this is our Trifold. Now, what's nice about is our Trifold. It has over 200,000 bends that you could do folding.
Wow.
And so it's a trifold. And what this is, when you see SLOD, that's a stack layer OLED device. With our stacked OLED, it has a higher integration. It gets the LEDs closer to the surface. And that means better light output, so it reduces the power that's needed.
And it's thin?
It's very thin, and it's also more rugged because of the stacked layer. And it's more robust.
Nice. Which ones do you want to talk about here?
Okay, so this is a camera. We call it our cup AMOLED device. As you notice, if you look at something like this, you can see how they have a notch for the camera. When we look at this one, there's a camera in here, but you don't know where it is. So what we'll do is we have such high transmittance through the display that we can put the camera, and we've made sure that there's no reflection from the camera, that the camera's in there, and you don't need to have a notch for that.
Nice.
So
it could
you
work
get to utilize the whole
selfies.
display. This display is the world's first smallest border. So you can go edge to edge. So from the edge of the LCD to the edge of the bezel here is 0.6 millimeters, but the edge of the display active area to the cover lens is 0.1 millimeter, 1.1 millimeter, excuse me. So it's the smallest border. It includes the radius too. Everything is fully symmetrical, 1.1 millimeter area.
Nice, all around.
All around. So, excuse me? Something just coming through. So we have our color filter on a thin film oxide. This technology is unique in the sense of when you have an OLED, there's a circular polarizer. We're removing the circular polarizer because anytime you put a polarizer in front of an LCD, it takes away some of the light. So we've changed the structure where we've added color filters and a black mask. So now you have more light output, and you don't need sunglasses. Whereas a color polarizer, it still works with sunglasses, but now this is much better without it. Because for the same light output, we are now lowering the power. So it's a power efficiency.
So you got rid of the polarizer?
Yes, we did. So a polarizer reduces the light.
Nice.
So we have our micro-lens pattern. Basically, it takes we put the pattern on the OLED and takes any of the light that was getting dispersed off in the angles, and we're forcing it up, straight up to the panel. And then we can also do a high brightness mode as well.
So this is without?
This doesn't have a micro-lens pattern. This does. So if you put your hand on it, you can feel the heat difference. So this has the same light output, but put your hand here and you can feel the heat.
Yeah.
And then put your hand on this one. there's a big temperature
cool.
difference. Right.
Cold phone.
Yeah, so basically you're taking all that wasted energy, focusing it up, so we can basically reduce the energy and keep the same brightness.
It's nice. You're showing more and more different ways of getting down in the power. Huh?
So Tianma is becoming more of a green company. We're looking at gathering more of environmentally friendly materials. So this is our green display, right?
Oh yeah.
But also we're looking at new technologies as well, because blue is not really good. It's for your eyes. It causes a lot of stress. Now we're looking at some of our new technology, which takes some of the fluorescence and phosphorescence, and we're putting them together, and it basically has a power saving mode, that new fluorescence.
So by getting rid of some of the blue, the harmful blue.
But also the technology, basically we cause the singlet and the triplets, and how to actually take advantage of that energy, so it causes less power to be needed.
What do you mean by the green display?
We're taking the materials that we use are more environmentally friendly.
Okay.
And then we come down here to this panel, which is probably one of my favorite. It's a part of the People's Choice. It has a fingerprint, so I could put my fingers on here, hold it there for about 3 seconds. It would measure my fingerprints, store it on a computer, and then it would also could play it back for me. It also has an integrated ambient light sensor, and that ambient light sensor, so as the light turns on, let's see if I can get this, you can see that the light would change the ambient, so it actually drives the display harder to overcome the ambient light. It also has the ability to read the LEDs, because with OLEDs they age differently, because you're turning each of the red, green, blue pixels on. It can sense each pixel and then color adjust it over so you can check the aging out, so you create a uniform color.
How can it can see itself?
Yes, exactly. So that's why it's such a high on it.
Auto-calibrate.
Yeah. Yes.
And what is this one? Stack layer OLED.
So that stacked OLED, almost of all the panels that we're showing you now have this Tianma's stacked OLED. Basically means it's a stacked layer.
It's like tandem?
Exactly. Very good. So tandem and stacked layer OLED devices.
So they all perform better, more brightness, more potential.
Yeah. It's much more robust, and it also brings the OLED device closer to the surface, which then lets more light out. So you want to get it closer. So here we have our seamless display. As you look at this, it appears to be one display, but what it is actually is two 13-inch displays. So we have two. It's mounted to one piece of glass, but it looks like one. So this is, we do the curve, excuse me. So we have our flexible display here. It's a touch, and what this one is, it's a slidable. So if I'm going to hit this button, you will see it move down. So in-dash applications, so when the vehicle starts moving, you could basically tell it it'll go down, or you could use the touch screen to go down, and then you'll be able to see a little portion. But then if you're moving, once you're moving along, you could have, when you stop, you could basically have it expand. So this is a rollable, slidable display, 13-inch. Very, very thin. So compact, 4.5 millimeter radius. Then we have also our 13-inch L-shaped. So if you see the dashes, and typically most people don't feel comfortable pushing like this, so we've made a curve with the dash. So you have the area here, you have your touches. So all of this, the touch is active as well. And then as for navigation, you could also have another curved in this radius, so it's made for the driver. So this is our C-shaped display.
Nice.
I'd like to show you this, but this is our privacy display. So it's a switchable privacy display. So nice. This is you can have it on and off. And if you look to the left and right, you can see that the viewing angle changes. So you don't want, everybody's on their cell phone, but there's always someone trying to look over your shoulder. So you can put on a switchable.
How can you switch it? You,
we have to do
software
that,
or something.
But yes, we just wanted to show you that it works, the switchable display.
Nice.
So let's continue around here. So have a seat. So this is our automotive section. On the automotive section, so we have a dash, and if you're in your car, the windshield at night will have a reflection of the display, which is not good because you want to be able to see out the windshield. You don't want to see what's on the dash, right? So what happens is we actually take our backlight system and we have light collimator only in the vertical direction. So it's still symmetrical left and right, but it limits the light going up and down to hit here. But we've actually had this year a new technology. We continue to use the vertical light collimator here, but we also put an in front surface. So now you won't see the reflection on your windshield. So if at night driving, you won't see that. But also it helps with the ability of the light coming in the daytime and reflecting back at your eyes. So here we have our high efficiency quantum dot mini LED. So high transmissivity lets more light through. Uses quantum dot, which is basically a blue LED that produces white light so you can create more of the NTSC colors. It's really high resolution as well. Great blacks, so forth. Then we have our what we call our lumino wood privacy. Now this looks, as you can tell, it's off. It looks like a piece of grain, so this is more of a decorative. We can make it in different types of, could be wood grain, could be like sheet metal or something like that. Could have a different look, but as you sit in front of it, you can only see it, and nobody from the left or the right or down. So in an automotive application, this would be in the passenger side, so the driver would not get distracted, and neither would the car beside you get distracted. And then we have this, which is aluminum wood, but it's basically, which is
aluminum wood.
Yeah, basically it's called InvisiView. Somebody must have pressed the button. So what this has very high transmissivity. So we can put this here, and you can see there's a touch on it, but when it's off, you can't even tell that it's off. So where does the display start and where does it end? So this is more of a decorative. So this looks like it's an armrest. So you can't even tell where the display starts. And if you're looking this as well, our technology, which separates us from anybody else, is there's like no halo effect. So if you look at these, you'll see some other people, they'll have halo.
Touch?
Yep. Touch works on everything. Let's change the temperature.
It's cool.
Yep.
So the cars are coming with all this stuff.
Yes. So have a seat here. So this is our 3D augmented reality, where you could basically, you look at this, so you can look at a car out in on the distance or something. Are you able to see something? I can't see.
It's
an arrow
it's with
moving.
eye tracking, right?
No, this is not eye tracking. What we're looking is,
Yeah.
we should be able. Is it not on?
Oh, there. It's come back. Yeah. I see it now.
So on this unit, we have a 4-inch heads-up display. It's projecting on here, but we also have an augmented reality (AR) capability. So you can project items out in the future. So if you have a camera in your car at night, you could actually see the car, even if you can't see the car. You could project it way out in the future, out in the distance, because some lights only go like 30 feet. You could actually have an infrared camera that could see a car 100 feet and project the car out there.
Nice.
Okay. So this is what we talk about. So our high transmit heads-up display. So we call it our picture generated unit. This is the power consumption on this device, and then we have a different one, so you can see how bright this is and low power. It's another one of our heads-up display. This is our 8-inch. So purely transmissive. I mean, it's purely emissive, and it's an 8-inch display projecting up here. And you can project it further if you'd like, but this is what we have for a heads-up display. This uses our micro-LED. So it's a purely emissive, not transmissive. We have our 14.6-inch high transmissive. What I mean by high transmissive, typically a panel is about 3 to 4% transmissive, so a lot of the light gets blocked, a huge amount of the light gets blocked. This one's 6.5-inch, so you have basically about a 50% increase, so you can lower the power, also get rid of some of the heat. Heat and power, that. This is our automotive solution. What we're looking at is 2 displays. This is actually in mass production right now. We're looking at a polysilicon, amorphous silicon here on this display. And this one here is a low temperature polysilicon. What's unique about this is a number of things. It has a knob on display. It's a touch screen. You can see that it's moving. This knob can be placed anywhere on the screen. And if I put up an image, let me put up this, you can see the display size. And it doesn't have to be rectangular. We can make free-form shapes. It doesn't have to be rectangular. And you can see that this knob is here, and we can put it anywhere.
Nice.
So Tianma offers higher integration as well. So this is, it's going to be tough to talk about this, but it's a haptic display. So as you touch it, you'll get a sensation, a feeling that'll come back. So you don't have to physically look at it. You'll have a feeling that comes back.
Nice. I can feel it.
So this is our 14.6-inch smart ambient light sensor with an NFC. That's near field communication. So as the light gets brighter, it will then make an adjustment and increase the luminance. See how it went into this new mode? So it's saying, I see high ambient light, so change it so I could see it. And then we'll
What's the NFC about?
So NFC is a near field communication. If I put my credit card, why don't we use yours? So, just kidding. So if you put a credit card, that's near field communications, and it'll basically use it to measure, like if you want to pay a payment or start the vehicle, basically you have a special card to set it up. So nice. I can think of a number of applications, but I'm not going to say them because they're not funny. Yeah. This vehicle, this one here is a 12.3-inch, which has a full screen with a camera under display. This is called our cup, camera under display. This uses an near infrared camera. So what happens is, for vehicle safety and people wearing sunglasses, you can't tell if they're physically looking forward. So with the near infrared, it'll go through your polarized sunglasses and see if your eyes are looking straight forward or you're distracted driving or fell asleep. So it'll wake you up, it'll peep back at you. But it's right in the display. You can't see the camera.
Even when you wear sunglasses?
Even when you wear sunglasses.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna move over here to the automotive. Yeah. We have 7 displays in here. We're looking at 3 heads-up displays. We have a 2D and a 3D display. It can be switchable, so you won't lose any resolution. And we have 2 InvisiView displays, and we have 1. And this has the touchscreen on it as well. So we can change the windshield. This is all touch. So that's the displays.
Nice.
So we're going to go over to our professional display business unit. This is our new introductory to digital signage. This is one of the first panels that were coming out. It'll be sold as a cell or a whole module, but it's a fully symmetrical. That means 88 degrees symmetrical viewing cone. You can either buy it with the backlight or without. Right now it's just offering without a backlight. Very nice. And it uses a VBO interface. And it's produced in our new factory. Our new factory has a large scale size glass production, so you can produce more than one at a time. This is our applications for POS, point of sale, or gas pump applications, or electrical vehicle chargers. And those are outside, so what we need outside is a touch screen. But how do you worry about the rain? So we've actually incorporated a touchscreen that can work in the rain or with gloves applications. So as I do this, it works. And if it got wet, it's not going to activate by the rain. It will only work by a physical touch of a human body model.
Nice.
And then we have our real 10-bit, which when we talk about real 10-bit, that means 10 bits for red, 10 bits for green, 10 bits for blue. So in medical applications, they need to know specific colors. This is a 10-bit. And it is also 12 megapixel colors. That means it's 4,000 pixels this way, 3,000 pixels this way. 12 megapixels, real 10-bit. So you can see the type of applications. And if you notice about this panel, this 30.9-inch panel, that there's no halo. It's very good, so you see no distortion. So the mirror is very low, no mirror. Excellent performance.
All right.
So we're looking at our 23.8-inch, 23.8-inch displays. They're off right now to show you the mirror. So mirror is basically if you're getting unevenness of black. So this is the traditional one. This one here has if you need a neutral density filter of 8, and you won't see any mirror. This is our 4K by 2K. Now, this is even higher performance with a neutral density filter of 10. So you can see how much more black this is. It's a beautiful 21.5-inch full high def display. Excellent viewing cone, super blacks. And it has a 2,000:1 contrast ratio. A beautiful, stunning panel for our medical application. Then we're coming up here to, excuse me? Thank you.
The mini LED.
We're actually doing a presentation.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
So we have our 27-inch mini LED. And what this is, when we talk about mini LEDs, we put a chip on board and we set them up where the LEDs are driving zones. We have 2,304 zones. So what you can see, it basically turns off sections of the backlight where it's not needed. So it reduces power. So you have less heat, and you have power savings. So heat is important because it also improves the reliability with the less heat. But it also looks beautiful. And as you can also see, there's no halo. So some people, when they have a problem, when they use the mini LEDs, they get these zones that create a little glow around it. This is an excellent display for a medical application as well. We have the 13.3 with the mini LED, ultra thin, narrow border, and it's targeted at the rugged PC or a medical. So here's the border, very low border. And for the people up in the north where it's a little bit cold, you'll need a glove. You typically have a leather glove and it has some fur inside, right? We have a display. This is our wet and glove, just like that other POS we were showing earlier. You could see that it works and it's not being activated by the rain right now. So it works with a finger. You say, well, how about a glove? So what if I'm using my glove? Will it work? You can see that it's working with a gloved
Nice.
application. Then we also have, just like the InvisiView, we have a white version of this. So with this, it's a decorative display. You can make it look like the display is there or not. You don't know what size this display is unless I told you, and it's a 7-inch. So, but you have to drive this over 70% white to actually see the color. This one here is our privacy. It's a switchable privacy. So if you're on a plane and you don't want everybody to read your notebook computer, we can change the viewing cone. It's switchable. So I'm going to switch this, and you can see that it changed the luminance and it also changed the viewing cone. It's no longer available. So I will have to change it back.
Nice. And it's back. And it's gone.
Okay.
Right.
So you can see this one here has a NFC built in, integrated into the system. So typically, it's another layer that has to happen where the supplier would get the display from a supplier, and they'd have to add the NFC to do a POS to put this on. But Tianma will actually do the integration of that and the touch. So this is still a touch screen here. So this has even higher integration. We actually integrated the NFC into the display, and so this is NFC compliant. This unit. So when you put the card, you can see that it activates. We're talking about our reflective displays, and so we have 3 displays here. One of them is an SFT, and the other 2 are ECB. And as you look at the power, you have 25 milliwatts, 27 milliwatts, and you have 700 milliwatts. So 30 difference, which is about 3,000 times the power. 30 times the power difference. So it's a 3,000% difference. So if I had a battery application, I was doing a personal navigation, I would want to use one of these because I'm going to have a much longer life than versus a traditional SFT panel.
Nice.
Okay, can we take a break?
That's a nice tour.
Thank you. And then we're going to go over to here. So we have our 23.8 inch full high def. This is Energy Star compliant. Everybody's trying to be more green. Excuse us? Yeah. And then we have our 27 inch quad high def. It's 180 hertz. So when you say 180 hertz, typical TVs are running at 60 hertz. Sometimes you hear about the gaming running at 180, 120. This is full motion video, pretty good for gaming. Monitor, so you're watching sports, you won't see the blur. And then we have the world's first 16-inch, 480 hertz oxide. So our oxides are one of our new generation fab. It's a technology. It's an oxide technology. So this is a true gaming computer. This is in production right now. So it's available. So very, very fast. You will not see any blurs. This is what a gaming person would want to have.
The oxide enables new features.
Yeah, it's because it does 480 hertz, no blur. And then we have a variable refresh rate. So this is a display that will go anywhere from 1 hertz all the way up to 360 hertz. As I touch it, and
it goes down.
Yeah, I can have it'll drop down if I put up a static image, and there'll be no flicker on that as well.
All right. Mm-hmm. Let's have a look over there.
Yeah, great. So,
sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was.
Hold on.
Well, somebody helped out.
We come back.
So this is a.
Sorry. Let me.
Let's come back to this. Yeah. Let's check this one.
Okay. So we have our 14-inch wide QXGA. It's a high color gamut. So this uses a low temperature polysilicon, and it gets 100% of the NTSC colors, and it's great for notebook or high performance applications. We have our 16-inch, which has an embedded T-Con, which is 120 hertz. So once again, gaming applications. And by embedding the T-Con, that it makes it much more highly integrated, makes it much thinner. We have this is very similar to the one over there that you saw. Instead of it being 480 hertz, it's 240 hertz. So half the refresh rate, but still great for a gaming application.
There's this one also.
So this is our 13-inch tablet. Basically what we want to show you, it's a high resolution in a very, very small border. It has about a 6mm border. And you can see that the colors are truly saturated. The blacks are amazing.
Nice. So,
yes,
for all these different markets,
yeah.
You always measure the market needs,
Yeah.
and just to satisfy all the different
We're not really just, it's not only measuring, but we're trying to anticipate what the customers want. So we're constantly developing new technology. The market may not know it exists or hasn't planned for it, but we are actually trying to be not just going along with the market, we want to be an innovator. And how are we being innovative? So for instance, over here we have our microfluid. So during testing in a lab, they would typically mix beakers, and that uses a lot of liquids. Liquids are expensive when you're doing testing, and you also don't have a precise way of controlling. With this, you would put a droplet of liquid called a nanoliter, right? 0.1 nanoliter. You could put it in all these 8 spots, and then we could have an experiment where it would actually move each of these liquids, and you could have them move and merge at the same time. It's just when you're like baking a cake, you got to do it in a sequence. You just can't throw all the ingredients in and expect it to happen.
Okay.
So it's a medical?
Yes, and it becomes a disposable item. Then we have, so for communications, for
Smart antenna.
smart antenna. So what happens is you typically, it's a line of sight with an antenna. So if you have an object that's moving like an airplane, how do you track that and keep the communications going? It's typically expensive, but if you do use a LCD as a backplane.
With a phased array?
Yes, exactly. So this can basically do beam steering because you're using the liquid crystal material to steer the beam.
It could for satellites too.
Exactly.
You can track the Starlinks.
Exactly.
Right.
So it was different. You know, it's typically line of sight, and you can't have everything fixed because things are moving. So this will allow you to do beam steering.
And it's LCD technology.
Correct, which is very inexpensive. So it's cost-effective solution.
And what are all these things you see? It's
Those are the LCDs that can steer for the beam steering.
All little LCD
Yeah.
screens. Not screens, but antennas.
Yep. So we have our gaming, which is a rigid AMOLED, so a very high speed refresh rate. This is a full HD for a gaming application. And it's got a brightness of typically 600, but we can actually do a high brightness mode where it'll jump up to 1,000 if it needs to. But that'll consume more power as well. We have our 6.7 inch, which has a narrow border, but I've already showed you something that has even a better border than this. This is typical smartphone. This is a low temperature polysilicon, but the other one I was showing you was an AMOLED. This is a 1.2 inch glass, which is a touch panel on a thin TPE, which is a thin film oxide. So you can see here, a touch. This is our 1.5 inch flexible.
Yeah.
This is our 1.5 inch flexible. That means this can bend, and it's an AMOLED, which a touch panel on TPE.
You show it bending here?
No, it's not showing bent, but it could be bent.
Nice.
So you can have up to 2 touch points on this.
Oh.
So this is a wearable application. And then we get to here. Maybe I want to show you this one. This is a typical rigid display. So it's a rigid LCD with a micro-lens pattern. This is the one where we could actually have the LED, the power that the light that gets dispersed out gets forced up. So on normal brightness, it would be get wasted. Now we can force that up and cause a high brightness mode. So you save some power, or reduce the luminance for the same luminance, you get the lower power. This one here, as we get closer to the borders, trying to reduce the border from where the active area is to the edge, it becomes more of a weak point, and you're worried about breaking and fracturing. So what we've actually done, we use a LiPo, which is a low pressure injection material. So we fill that material with void. So if you think about it, here you have an FPC. How do you make sure that that doesn't get bounced around? Because you look at, everybody's whacking their watches. This we actually fill with a material, so it will be more robust for a rugged environment.
Nice.
We have Tianma's low reflectance transparent micro LED. What a micro LED is, it's an LED, it's purely emissive, but this one's 55% transmissive, so you can see the drive circuitry behind it. It's
Transparent?
It's very transparent, so you can see through it. 55%. It's
Right.
very, very bright.
No reflective.
No, you don't need to be with reflective. Yep. So
Yep.
you don't want it to be reflective. Yep.
Right.
So you reduce the reflection. So if you see the reflection, you can't see the display. That means that's overpowering it. So you don't want it, so you can see what you're looking at. So staying along that, you can see these two displays. We show you a normal display, which is highly reflective, and we have this one here, which has an anti-glare and a low reflectance. It's just not that. But even then, look at this picture. It looks like so real. And we also basically put an ambient light technology in there, so it'll adjust the grayscales as the light changes. So you will have less eye strain, so it makes it easy to read. So when you think about people with their tablets and they're sitting there for hours watching videos or reading something, your eyes get really tired. With this technology, it takes away the stress on your eye. This is a tracking. You can see this is tracking. It's basically just a visual. It has a thermal camera just for demonstration. This is one of our new technologies that's being developed. So if you ever took a picture of someone wearing a striped shirt, it kind of looks like, it's like all over the place. It doesn't look like straight lines. So if we have here, if we take something like this, a circle, it typically looks like this. So what we have is a pixel, multi-pixel. Basically what we do is we take that image and we shift it. So it basically takes out that rastering effect.
Wow.
So it looks like the curve versus looks like just a bunch of pixels with raster. So you now see the curves.
So you're improving the display?
Yep.
To take away?
Yep. Without having to double the resolution, it's taking the same information but just shifts it back and forth so you see the curves instead of raster effect. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks a lot for showing everything that you have here, the Display Week
Thank you.
2025.